In today's episode, I chat with the captain of the magnificent super yacht Sherakhan. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you probably have seen the yacht tour video that I made about this stunning explorer yacht. I thought I would chat with Kevin, the captain of Sherakhan, about the history of the boat, what it is like to be the captain, and also talk about some of the amazing experiences charter guests and crew have had aboard this beautiful boat that has been converted from a Dutch training ship to an incredible explorer super yacht. Make sure you stick around because at the end of our chat, I will talk about how I can help you charter motor yacht Sherakhan. So, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Yacht Boy podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by the captain of motor yacht Sherakhan. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. It's an absolute honor to have you join us. And just so listeners know, a couple of weeks ago, I was honored to be able to spend an afternoon aboard the beautiful Sherakhan with Kevin and his wonderful crew. I went on board with my wife and two children. We had a fantastic lunch. We had a really good time, had a great chat, just talking about the boat in general. And that video is up on my YouTube channel if you haven't already seen it. But Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I mean, the video that I made when I was on board Sherakhan has only been live on my YouTube channel now for a couple of weeks, but I think we're already up to 50, 60,000 views. And reading through the comments, people absolutely love the boat. There's been lots of really nice, positive feedback about the boat, and rightly so, because she's very unique. Tell us a little bit about Sherakhan, Kevin.
Yeah, so she's definitely a very unique boat. So she started her life as Princess Margaret, which is she was a training vessel for the Dutch Merchant Navy. She's built in 1966, and so the current owner, my father, he bought the boat in 2002, and he transformed her into Sherakhan. It took about 3 years to rebuild her because she's been completely removed and rebuilt from scratch, basically.
Yeah.
She was one of the first boats that could actually have more than 12 guests, actually. So she can have 26 guests. So she's built as a passenger ship instead of like most of the yachts.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has a very special boat. And,
she is indeed, yeah. I mean, I've got a picture on my YouTube video of Sherakhan before she was acquired by your father and converted into the luxury explorer yacht that she is now. And for listeners, explain to them as well what it means in terms of the fact that she's actually registered as a passenger vessel. What does that mean in terms of how you operate the boat as a charter vessel?
So basically, the big advantage, of course, is that you can come with your whole family and friends. So we often have 3 generations on board, with grandparents booking the boat, or a son or a daughter books the boat and invites the entire family. So it's really nice and very special that you can be with such a large group, but still feel that it's sort of small. There's many spaces that you can also sit with a few people, and so it really gives you a lot of options and opportunity. What's special about it for marketing her or like running her as a charter vessel is that we can go to places where other ships cannot go that easy. So yeah, we can also charter in places like Indonesia, for example, where we can go from place to place like a cruise ship, but still the luxury of a yacht.
And how many crew do you have on board at the moment?
So we run basically between 19 and 22 crew, because we have rotational crew. We're not always with 22, but most of the times we are with 22 during charter season.
22, yeah. And as I said at the beginning of our chat, your crew are absolutely fantastic. They made my wife and I and our 2 kids feel really welcome. One of the areas that I really liked when I was on board is the spa. So for those that don't know and haven't seen the video yet, Sherakhan has a dedicated spa that's located towards the bow of the vessel. And I can imagine that is quite a popular area with charter guests. I bet they love to go and spend some time down there.
It's very popular for sure, yeah. And they have all the privacy there, so it's really nice to have a jacuzzi, the sauna, the cold bucket, which they can have. And the massage room is there, so it's really like,
And of course the gym as well. So once you've worked up a really good sweat down the gym that you've got there, you can head down to the spa and just relax your body again. I think it's such a fantastic setup that you've got on there, and I think as well, I don't think a lot of people understand just how much effort and how much time goes in to taking a boat like Sherakhan and converting her from a Dutch kind of training ship to what she is now. So you said that kind of period took 3 years, and talk to us a little bit about
Yeah,
the kind of efforts that go into just the design phase of that, in terms of before anything is stripped out of the boat, just getting all of the designs and drawings. How much effort goes into that?
a lot.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
a lot of discussions, and also a lot of discussions with the class society, because for them it's still a 1966 built boat.
Mm,
And as you know, training passenger ships are complying with the most strict rules and the most heavy rules.
yeah.
So for a class society is really something that they don't want to mess up, basically,
Hmm.
because also they are very much checked and audited. So it's a lot of debates, because especially because you're changing the purpose of the boat from a training vessel to a passenger ship.
Yeah.
So we had some discussions with stability, because our engine room is rather big.
It's huge. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely massive.
So we had to add some water tight compartments there, just to make sure that she's a safe vessel and complying with all the passenger ship rules. So that
And
was
where,
a big thing. And
yeah,
then we basically, when the ship was bought, we sailed her to Lithuania, where we completely removed the superstructure and removed everything. And then
wow.
some of the stainless steel work was done there under Dutch supervision, but by local workers.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, in the Netherlands, they were building the aluminium superstructure, which was already pre-built, basically. And when she was towed back as only a casco, she came to Urk, and in Urk and Lemmer, they put the top part on it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's been
How long did it take? How long did it take to tow her from Lithuania back to the Netherlands? How long did that take?
I'm not sure actually. I think it was like 4 weeks or 3 weeks that it took them.
Yeah, yeah. And so were you sort of the project build captain as well? So
No,
whilst the rebuild was taking place?
no, I was not actually. So my father did everything. I was actually only like 18 years old, I think, 19 years old back then.
Okay.
So I was there. I actually had to start my school still.
Right,
So I
okay.
did
I bet you.
so I did my maritime university in 2004, and that was the same university that this was the vessel from.
Mhm.
So it was quite funny.
Yeah, yeah. It must have been interesting to watch all the progress as well from afar, whilst you were doing your studies, looking at the progress of Sherakhan as she was sort of, brought back to the Netherlands, had the superstructure put on her, and then was fitted out. It must have been really interesting to it must have been distracting for you to concentrate on your university stuff at the same time as keeping an eye on this amazing project that your dad,
Yeah,
oversaw and brought to life.
yeah, it was really nice to also see all the teachers that on my school. They were all like because they were running it as a training vessel, so all the
Mm.
teachers had like a job also on the ship. So we had like the captain, the chief engineer, and that were teaching us. So it was really funny to hear all the stories about how she was as Princess Margaret.
Yeah, I can imagine. So she entered service back in 1966, and then literally she spent nearly 20 years as a training ship. Is that right?
Yeah, more even. I think she did about 40 years of training vessel. More.
And for people, and for people that don't know, so a training vessel, what does that entail in terms of what would have been her sort of day-to-day operation? Where would she have been, and what would she have been doing?
So basically, she was laying in Terschelling, which is in the island of the northern Netherlands.
Hmm.
And basically, all maritime schools in the Netherlands, they did their training on board this vessel.
Right.
So they did like about 2 weeks, I think, per student a year. So they did like a trip. So they went to Norway or to England or those kind of trips they basically did.
Yeah.
And just actual sailing. She had a double bridge at the time, so the top bridge was the actual bridge, and the lower bridge was where the students were. So they were
Hmm.
actually really watchkeeping and everything. That was really special for the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting actually because when I said on my social media that I was coming aboard Sherakhan, a lot of my Dutch followers messaged me saying, "Oh yes, I know Sherakhan. I did some training on her when she was a training ship. So she obviously has a very special place in the hearts of a lot of Dutch navigators and Dutch, seamen who went aboard Sherakhan in a previous life as a training ship, and now I would imagine they kind of follow her journey and always
Yeah,
like to keep up to date with where she's going and what she's up to."
yeah, for sure. And also my relief captain, he's doing the deliveries, and he's in his 70s, but yeah, he's still sailing for fun and doing deliveries.
Yeah.
He was actually having his training on board Princess Margaret, and he was also the pilot when he was towing the Sherakhan basically as a casco back to
Oh,
Netherlands.
really?
And now he's working on her for already like 5 years, I think now. So yeah, it's really funny how he really followed the different steps of her. So it's nice to hear his stories as well. It's nice.
Yeah, and it's great that he can still come aboard as a relief captain as well, to give you some well-earned time off and still be, connected to the boat in such an intimate way as well.
Yeah.
Um, and in terms of the engineering side of it, then, so just remind me, the engines that are on Sherakhan now and the generators, they're all completely new in terms of they were fitted during the rebuild process. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So the main engine is a Caterpillar engine and was built in 2005, basically fit in.
Hmm.
Um, as you saw on the video, I think as well, the engine room is very big around the engine because the old engine was really big, but yeah, the
Yes.
modern engines are much more efficient, so they could be much smaller.
I mean, the engine room, for those, again, that haven't seen the video yet on my YouTube channel, the engine room is absolutely huge. When I first stepped into that space with you, I was really taken aback by just how grand that space is, and the fact that it's split over two levels, and the fact that we could, walk along where the propeller shaft is as well and watch that turn a little bit. It really was an amazing experience. And
And it's the original propeller shaft still.
which is
So
amazing because it's in really good condition.
it
You
is,
look at it, you'd never think it's 60, nearly 70 years old, which is
yeah.
testament to the hard work and dedication of your crew. And I think as well, I mean, I know we spoke about this a little bit during my stay on board for the afternoon, but it seems that the conversion markets at the moment, in terms of people acquiring vessels and rebuilding and refitting them, is really quite hot at the moment. What's your take on that?
It's definitely hot at the moment for sure, and I think it's really nice to basically give a second life or a third life to a vessel, which other people
Mm,
see as garbage, but that you can actually make something really nice of it.
yeah,
I think that's something amazing. Like same with Sherakhan, she has such a long history. There's so many people that know her and that had great experiences on her. So I think that to build on a legacy like that is, I think, something very special.
yeah, absolutely. It really is. I mean, when you look at Sherakhan, she's just very imposing, very elegant. That kind of classic design that she's got, those classic lines. I think I can imagine she gets a lot of attention, whether she's at anchor or
She
whether
does,
alongside.
she does for sure, and I think that's also the charm of like all the refits basically that people do. If you do a refit really properly, it's really something nice that you give a second life to a vessel. But you should not try to make something modern about of something old. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You should build in the spirit of the boat and not trying to build something completely different or try to copy a new fat ship and from a 60-year-old hull, which is basically
yeah,
impossible.
absolutely. And I think a lot of the really well-known explorer and expedition yachts that are out there that have kind of kept to that whole kind of philosophy of staying true to the original design, but just modernizing certain aspects. You can certainly see that when you look at them. You can look at a boat and you think, oh, wow, that's got an interesting story because you can see that it's operating now as a luxury,
Yeah,
super yacht. But you can look at it and think, actually, I can imagine what she would have looked like pre-conversion as well. And I think, yeah, I mean, I love it for people like me and a lot of my audience as well that follow my stuff who love explorer yachts and expedition yachts. I think they can really relate to what you've said there about taking something and giving it a rebirth, kind of bringing it out from almost a destiny that would have meant that the vessel perhaps would have been scrapped, and actually rejuvenating this boat into something that people that are really passionate about boating and especially the explorer yacht niche can look at and really relate to. And I think your dad did an absolutely amazing job with Sherakhan. She really is
100%.
beautiful.
And
What's
what I think is amazing in the 60s and like old boat building, they really built boats to last.
Yeah.
And nowadays we are living in the whole consumer market where we just throw away and buy new.
Yes.
And I think that's such a waste. And I really think that ships like Sherakhan are really something special, and they will last forever, basically, as long as you maintain them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And then what, I mean, just so listeners know, a little bit later on or towards the end of our conversation, I've got some questions that have been submitted by my followers. So we'll go into some Q&A stuff later on. But I'm interested to know, in terms of Sherakhan, what's your favorite part of the boat? Where do you like to spend most of your time, other than the bridge?
Yeah, that was an easy one. I prefer my time on the bridge, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might say that.
No, I think my favorite place on the boat is basically the sun deck.
Yeah,
because you have the shade, you have the glass bottom jacuzzi, you have the barbecue area there, and you have the space to basically sit there with 26 people and still don't feel that it's crowded.
Mm-hmm.
We did parties up to like 250 people, and it was still not crazy crowded.
250 people.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. So we had a wedding, and the ship is really like, she's so flexible for everything. Like she can really accommodate anything you like to do with her.
Yeah. So when you had those 250 guests on, what did you have to adapt in terms of the crew numbers and everything else? What did you have to do to kind of facilitate that kind of gathering?
So the crew numbers, we had some, of course, local day workers basically to help us from a service company. They help with the catering and those kind of things. Safety wise, we of course needed more life raft and more life jackets.
Mm-hmm.
But for the rest, not that much, to be fair.
Oh, really? Yeah, because she's just so big, isn't she? And that's the thing. She's such a large vessel. How many meters is she again, LOA?
70 meter.
And gross tons?
1945.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's such a large vessel that, I can imagine even having 250 people on plus the crew, there was still plenty of space that if the guests wanted to have a bit of time out on their own, they could disappear off and just have some time out.
Exactly. So, yeah, she is very flexible.
And whereabouts are you now?
We are at the moment in Jean-Lepin, south of France.
Lovely.
Yeah,
warm weather.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, I love the south of France. I really love it down there, and I can see why so many, charter super yachts gravitate to that part of the world. It's such a beautiful area. Where's your favorite part of the world to operate as a charter super yacht? Where do you like to be?
Yeah, for me, it's a very simple answer. Like, for me, Antarctica is the place to be.
Really? Which I guess that might surprise some people, because I think a lot of people assume that you'd want to stay in the warmer climates, head over to the Caribbean during the Mediterranean down season. But you really like the off-grid cruising, and that's something that we spoke about, didn't we, during my time on board? What is it that you love about that particular part of the world?
So what I like, because we've been there in 2013 with Sherakhan, it's so amazing that you can do whatever you like there, basically, of course, within the boundaries and the rules. But you have so much freedom. It's not crowded. There's not many people. You're really alone there with the wildlife, with your own group, and with the nature around you. The scenery is absolutely stunning. And people see Antarctica as a really cold place. But it's basically like a winter sport holiday. Like, you can have very cold days and you can have very warm days. Only the thing is with Antarctica is you always have to be prepared for the worst, basically, because the weather can change very quickly. You
What?
can, sorry,
No, sorry. Go on. You carry on.
you can go in the morning to a beach landing, and you can go to a penguin colony, and you go in basically a t-shirt because it's warm, and 2 hours later it's cold, windy, and the whole thing changed. So you always have to bring different clothes and everything to be prepared for everything. But it can be really a nice sunny day.
I would love to go down to that, part of the world. I've never been down there. I've heard lots of stories. People have been down there. I can just imagine the scenery would just be stunning, and just the fact that you are so far away from anyone. It's just you, your crew, the charter guests. You're kind of self-sufficient, autonomous on this beautiful boat like Sherakhan. I can imagine it's just such an amazing experience. What do you find in terms of charter guests? What do you find they tend to ask for when they're cruising in that part of the world?
So basically what we always try to do is basically be ahead of them, so they don't have to ask anything. They only should be amazed by all the things that they get.
Mm-hmm.
Like a simple example is that, like, people had were zodiac cruising between the killer whales and whales, and they didn't have drinks with them. We knew that. They had just water with them. So we took the kayak, and we just went there with 2 kayaks and a service crew and myself and another deckhand to bring champagne to them. And they were so amazed that we came drinking it in kayaks, because they were really slow cruising between the whales and they're all around the boat. So we didn't have to go that far. But those kind of things that people don't think they need, and actually are very nice to do. But in general, they just like to spend time with the family, spend time with wildlife, and be amazed and make stories for a lifetime, basically.
I can imagine the look on their faces as the captain and crew approached them over the horizon on some kayaks with some champagne. I bet that was quite an experience for them.
They actually thought something was wrong. So,
and what do you have to do in terms of Sherakhan? What modifications or what do you have to do to get the boat ready for cruising in those kind of waters?
So basically, she is ready for anything. We comply with polar code, so we are fully compliant to go there.
Mm-hmm.
We all have to do is just to submit a permit, basically, and get some additional warm water gear, or cold water gear, sorry. So some jackets for crew, boots, things like that, also for guests that we don't have always standard on board, but we have in our office. So basically that, and get an additional Zodiac on board, which is also in our office. So yeah.
And do you find that? I mean, I always, when I sort of chat to people about boats that are operating in Antarctica, they always assume that they have to be icebreakers, but that's not the case, right?
No, in the summer Antarctica, you don't need an icebreaker. In winter Antarctica, you definitely need the icebreaker. But our winter is their summertime, basically, and then there's ice for sure, but not like breaking ice. And even with an icebreaker, because I've sailed also on Legend, with just an icebreaker, officially you're not allowed to break ice anymore for just no purpose, basically.
Oh, that's interesting. So you can't just kind of cruise around breaking ice just for the sake of breaking ice. It has to be for
A reason.
A reason. And your itinerary, does that form part of the reason, or does
it can be, but if there's a way around the ice, then you should pick the way around. And breaking ice is not a comfortable experience, to be fair.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Basically, a scary experience, because the whole boat starts vibrating and everything. And the boat is strong enough to go through ice; it's no problem. But it's not the experience that you like.
So when you're actually going through ice, do you have to have people? Do you have to have crew down below in certain compartments, keeping an eye on the hull to make sure there's no compromises anywhere at all?
No, when we did it with Legend, it's an icebreaker hull. We could break through 1.5 meter of ice. So to be fair, that's the boat is strong enough, and you have like Beals alarms everywhere. So if you have water, then you have a Beals alarm, and you have all separate compartments. So
all the watertight compartments.
Yeah.
Because I always remember when I was on the warships, if ever we were in an area, I mean, slightly different, but if we were in an area where there was a like a nuclear, biological, or chemical threats, then we'd have to close the ship down to something called Zulu Alpha, where we'd close all the compartments and all the hatches. And I wondered, it made me think about vessels that are operating in Antarctica. If there is an increased risk of ice hitting the vessel, whether you have to keep a closer eye on the hull. But as you say, I guess you've got all the sensors and everything down there, so that if there ever is a problem, which is extremely unlikely, within minutes. But talking about some of the conditions that you've been in, whether on charter or off charter, what are some of the kind of gnarliest conditions you've experienced, whether on Sherakhan or whether on Legend?
So on the Sherakhan, we did the Drake Passage multiple times, and the Drake Passage is from South America to Antarctica, and it's known for its pretty serious weather conditions sometimes. We were all quite lucky. We had high waves, but very long periods. So you went up very high and then went down very slowly. Yeah. So it was just up and down. But the ice pilot was telling me a story how he was 2 weeks before that on a big cruise ship, and all the windows broke. And I was really like, wow, you're telling me this, and I'm on a 70 meter, and you're telling me like a 200 meter cruise ship broke down the windows. That's like,
wow,
doesn't really motivate me to be here.
No. What happened with the cruise ship? I mean, did they have to kind of take people off of it, or did they manage to sort of carry on and just batten down the hatches?
Yeah, they managed to carry on, but they couldn't control from the bridge anymore. So they had to be locally engine room and local in steering room. So
yeah, that must have been a crazy experience for the passengers as well. I mean,
for sure.
I must admit, I mean, I love rough weather cruising. It's something I really enjoy, but only on a boat that obviously is designed to take that kind of pounding. And I think when you're on a passenger ship, probably the last thing you expect is to see windows breaking out as you're going through these massive, monstrous waves. But that must have been quite an experience. Are you more of a fair weather kind of captain, or do you like the gnarly stuff?
No, I like more the fair weather kind of.
That's understandable. I think I'm in a minority, to be honest with you. I think people look at me as if I'm a little bit weird when I start talking about kind of rough weather and stuff. But yeah, I think you just can't beat it. You can't beat being on board a boat in nice, calm weather conditions in beautiful parts of the world. I've never obviously chartered a yacht, but even spending a couple of hours on board that afternoon, it kind of gave me a glimpse, and it made me want more. It made me want more. Actually, I said to the wife, maybe we should sell the house and do a week's charter or something. But
it would be good for your experience.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be something to talk about. I'll just have to make sure the video kind of earned enough that I could kind of buy another house.
Buy a new house, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise we'd end up staying on board your boat as stowaways, I think.
No, that's okay. I can find some job for you, no problem.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, I'm quite good with ship's husbandry and handling the lines and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that I don't know about you, but have you found in the last maybe 5 years, or especially since COVID, that more people are chartering boats? And if they have, why do you think the reason is behind that?
I do think more people charter boats for sure, because I think less people would like to be on a big cruise ship with a lot of people. They prefer to be with a smaller group of people if possible. So I think that's one part of it. I think like for us, we had one of the busiest seasons during COVID because people wanted to book us just to basically still have a life and still go out for dinner sort of, and like going out and do their office work. And so yeah, we had a group of 12 people on board who basically just spent here about a few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And have you found as well, because you've got Starlink on board, have you found Starlink to be a bit of a game changer in terms of perhaps if they're, if you've got charter clients that were always worried about being disconnected from their businesses or anything like that, now they can stay just as connected with their business as what they would have been shoreside. So have you found Starlink to be a big game changer?
It is for sure a big game changer, 100%. Like, I remember when we went to Antarctica in 2013, we had very limited internet connection. We had a VSAT, but it was very not working really good in the south. So it was very difficult. When I've been there later with Legend, it was already much, much better. VSAT had much more coverage.
Mm.
But now with Starlink, you can basically just have 4K live streaming with Starlink from a ship.
Which is for me, I mean, that is still, it's kind of mind blowing, because I just think, I remember again being on warships. We were lucky if we had a 5-minute conversation with somebody at home every 2 months, because Inmarsat, back in the late 90s, it was so expensive, and now you've got 100 meg. Is it 100 meg upload and download speeds now? Even
we reach up to 180, I think. Yeah.
Which is just phenomenal. I mean, the fact that you could technically run your business, whilst on a charter, if you were that sort of mindful to do that, you could do that. Whereas prior to Starlink, it would have been either really expensive, or you just couldn't guarantee the connectivity, right?
No, but we paid like very expensive VSAT contracts, but even then, it's still not as reliable as Starlink, and especially like the the streaming and things like that. Starlink is so much better in it.
How does it work? Do you get a certain amount of data then? Is that how it works? You sort of have a data allocation?
Yeah, so basically you have, depending on how much you pay, of course, but on average, the standard contract is, I think, 1,000 gigabytes a month, and then 2,000, 5,000, 10, 15, 20, I think they have.
Yeah.
But normally you don't need that much data. Like, I think on average, with just crew on, we use about between 600 and 1,000 gigabyte a month.
Yeah.
I think with all our guests on, you're probably around 3,000, depending a bit on the group.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what do you do? So when you're not on charter, when you're sort of in between charters, what do you do? What do you and the crew do? Do you sort of get to enjoy the boat? Do you get to enjoy, going ashore, or is it all kind of maintenance and upkeep of the vessel?
And normally we're all drinking cocktails together all day. And wait for the next one.
I'm not surprised. I think that's what, if I was crewing Sherakhan, I think that's what I'd want to do, especially up on that massive sun deck you've got up there.
Yeah. No, so we have quite a lot of maintenance because we have quite a lot of woodwork with only the varnishing.
Mm-hmm.
So often we are off season is basically just maintenance, keeping the paintwork up to date, doing the varnish jobs, also doing the maintenance, but that's more like off season. Mm-hmm. And during season we are much more on polishing, like keeping the white paint shining. We are applying now glass coating as well, which is a big game changer. Like it is really a nice protective layer, which makes it much easier to clean. So we're trying to do that every 6 months to 1 year. We try to refresh that one, and we do it all by the crew, by ourselves. And that's the funny thing here. We work really as a team. So I'm as a captain. I'm also just cleaning and polishing outside. I'm part of the crew as well. So when there's a garbage line, I'm also throwing garbage, and we really do everything together.
Oh, so you get involved with that as well? You're still very much hands-on.
And we don't do it. We don't run the boat as departments. We have, of course, departments, but it means the stewardesses during off season or during when we have no charter, they're also helping outside with the sanding of the woodwork, the polishing of the hull, the polishing and everything. So it's really a team that's on board and not like all separate.
I must admit, I wish
the deck is still running.
Yeah. I love that teamwork side of it, and I think that when I left the Navy, if I'd have known about the super industry, I probably would have signed up to be kind of a deckhand on a boat somewhere, because it's such an amazing experience. Obviously, for the charter guests, it's a phenomenal experience, but also just living on board a boat like Sherakhan and being part of a family and being part of a team.
We have a lot of crew members who are actually, it's quite funny, like some of our Filipino deckhands and bosun. They were actually deckhand when I started as a deckhand in 2008 and 2010. Yeah. And they're still here. So I learned massively from them, and now I'm their captain. So we go back so long, and like of course there's a hierarchy on board, but it's much more of a friendship or like a team, like that we all working together to achieve the same goal.
Yeah, and I must admit, I think that's one of the things, one of the many things that stood out to me is just how low your staff turnover is on board Sherakhan. You've got staff that have been on board, you know, like you say, a very long time. And I think that says a lot about, you know, the boat and the way that the boat is run and operated. Morale must be really high because everybody wants to stay on there.
Yeah, like I said, what's difficult here is that with stewardesses sometimes, because many times we have stewardesses who just sees it as a 2 year gap year, that they like to see something of the world, and not like a long time career. So we had like lawyers who did like a 2 year gap year.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a great idea. What a fantastic way to spend a gap year
Yeah,
on board a super yacht.
it is, but it's very difficult for the longevity, you know, in the department if you build on those kind of people. So that's a bit like very challenge. It's quite a challenge sometimes, but especially on the deck side of things and the housekeeping team, where the Filipinos, for them it's really a career. So
Yeah.
we having many different nationalities on board. So we try to run mainly like with Dutch nationals, Filipino crew, South Africans, Belgium. So we have a bit from all over the world, but we always try to have a healthy balance. So not like have 18 Dutch people, but have like 8 Dutch people, 6 Filipinos, and like really a mix of everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, I've got some questions now, and these questions have been submitted to me through my channel members on my YouTube channel. So they've got some questions, and I've got 7 here, and I'll fire through them. So the first question is, what inspired you to become a charter captain, and how did you start your career in yachting?
So basically, my dream of sailing goes already back to childhood, where I was always drawing boats, and I love being at the ocean as a kid. I think when I was about 10 years or 11 years old, my father had the biggest inland river party ship company. So he was hosting weddings, business events, and celebrations. So this was all inland rivers, and I often joined him. So he was the captain on there. So I was always there on the bridge with him and like sailing around. So that really was my passion. But it was all inland river. And then in 1998, he bought a boat called Jaguar, which was a 38-meter Haak design Dutch boat. And as a 13 or 14-year-old boy, I had the chance to join him on a few trips and sail to the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Although I was often seasick because, like I said, I'm more a good weather captain. I really love the ocean and the feeling of freedom.
Yeah.
I'm gladly no longer seasick, so that part is solved. But
I was going to say, yeah, did you manage to get over the seasickness?
Yeah. But the first few times I was like, oh, why did I ever want to do this? But
really,
no. So I survived that, and then in 2002 or he bought Princess Margaret. And it was funny that it was the training vessel of my university. And I think I went to look in 2001 or something, because I already knew I was going to do either Maritime University or doing NIRO, the business university in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Then during my apprenticeship, I did on a container vessel and a passenger ship from North America Line. And then after my last apprenticeship on the passenger ship, I really knew that I really love inclusiveness and approach of yachting. Because during the summer holidays, I had the chance to work as a deckhand for 6 to 8 weeks.
And here we are in 2024. So you've been a captain on board now for 7 years.
Yeah. I think I was 31 or 32 when I started. So yeah, as captain.
Fantastic. Now, the next question, I know we spoke about that experience in Antarctica where you went out on the canoe and delivered some champagne to your charter guests. But the next question here is, can you tell us about the most memorable charter experience you've had aboard Sherakhan?
Yeah, so for sure, bringing the champagne was one of the things. It was definitely a highlight. But I can also remember another thing from that trip was that we went the trip from Falkland to South Georgia and then to Antarctica, and we're blown away by the nature already from the first thing. When you enter South Georgia, you expect that you only see ice in Antarctica, and whole South Georgia, the whole island, Elzeville Bay was the first bay we went to. It was all green.
Wow, really?
You would not expect that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Really fun. And then we went to Antarctica, and we found a floating ice shelf basically. And the expedition leader told us like, I think we can put some people on it. So we went there with the Zodiacs, and we started as a crew to build like a natural ice bar, where we put the Dom Perignon and prepared some
Wow.
whiskey with natural ice cubes. And
Wow.
we got the guests as well, all on the ice shelf. And we were standing there with like, I think it was 22 guests and about 8 crew members. We were all standing on this floating ice shelf with icebergs floating around us and Sherakhan on the background. And I
Unbelievable.
never forget that sight when they had Dom Perignon and whiskey, and yeah, they were all talking and completely being amazed. So that you're able to offer those kind of experience is something that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, wow! Talk about a once in a lifetime opportunity. What did the ice taste like? What did the water taste like when it melted into the whiskey? I bet it was a unique taste.
I was not the lucky one that has the whiskey,
Yeah, true.
but the guests said a lot of good things about it.
Yeah,
The ice, yeah, we did have some melted ice, and we tasted the water. Yeah, it's crystal clear, but it tastes like normal water basically.
yeah, fascinating, fascinating. So the next question here is, what are some unique features of Sherakhan that sets her apart from other super yachts in the same class?
I think to start off is basically her unique history, like we discussed before. That she has such a rich history, and that so many people have stories of her. Um, Regarding design features, I think like the spacious guest cabins are really special, because I've been on many new build yachts as well, and I was always surprised by how small the suites are.
Yeah,
Then when she was built or launched, she had one of the first atriums on board super yachts. So the main saloon is 7 meter high, with the glass bottom jacuzzi on top. So you always have natural daylight, which I think is very special.
yeah,
And the outside heaters in the aft to have the alfresco dining, and yeah, I think we can build on 19 years of charter experience so far. So
yeah.
we're pretty special. And like I said, when my father built the boat, he already had the inland partnership company experience. So Sherakhan is really built with a full charter mindset, rather than being built as a private yacht that occasionally charters. It's really a
Right.
business.
Yeah, yeah, you can see that as well. Like you say, I mean, the atrium in the saloon is just unbelievable. The fact that you can sit on that huge table, and right above you, you've got that large jacuzzi. You can see through that water. It's just mind blowing. It really is just such a fantastic design.
Yeah.
It really is. And actually, that brings on to the next question, which is, how do Sherakhan's design and amenities enhance the overall charter experience for guests?
So yeah, as I said, she's designed as a full-on charter yacht. She's operated as a business. So basically, all is thought about to reach the end goal, which is to give the guest the time of their life.
Mm.
We always try to have this home feeling, the home away from home, basically, that people really can be their self. You know, when guests come on board, the first day they're still on their phone. After day 3, they don't even know where the phone is anymore. Only they use it for taking pictures and videos, but they're all completely zoned out and just really enjoying the time on board. Like we always try to do all the lunch and dinners on board at different places. So we organize the dinner at the bow while we're drifting slowly past the volcano at Stromboli,
Mm.
or a dinner at the top deck under the stars, a blacklight dinner inside, all the different teams. So no is not really an option on Sherakhan. So we, like I said, all the crew is actively involved with all activities, including myself. So yeah, we really try to
It,
do as a team.
it's interesting you say about the phone thing because, yeah, I mean, even the afternoon that I spent on board with my wife and children, I don't think I looked at my phone once, to be honest with you. It's interesting how you said. As soon as you said that, I thought, yeah, I can relate to that because I didn't look at my phone at all.
Yeah.
So the next question here is quite an interesting one. How do you ensure the highest level of service and safety for guests during a charter?
So it's always a difficult one to be fair. But to ensure the highest level of service and safety for guests on charter, I would say that the crew undergo rigorous training and are all highly experienced in hospitality and maritime safety. They are trained to provide like the top-notch service to cater to the guest needs, and ensure their comfort and safety throughout the journey. And as Sherakhan is classed as a passenger ship, which make her that she needs to comply with the most demanding safety rules and regulations. She complies with all the international maritime regulations and undergoes annual class and flag state inspections, so that it's constantly audited and checked. And what further helps, I think, is that our crew longevity is so high that the team is very attuned to each other and therefore able to provide the highest level of service at all times and don't be stressed or panic when something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of the benefits of having the class that you've got is that just how stringent everything is when it comes to staying in class and all of the additional accreditations and the safety measures and protocols you have in place. So, yeah, no, absolutely. So the next question here is, can you walk us through a typical day in the life of a charter captain on Sherakhan?
Yeah, a typical day. What's a typical day? So basically, on charter, I would say my day starts with having around the ship. So I normally wake up around 8 o'clock, and then walk around the whole ship, check engine room, and then visiting all the head of departments. And normally, when my walk is finished, the guests are waking up slowly. I just go there to say goodbye, good morning, how their night been, and how everything was, and tell them what the plan is for the day.
Yeah.
So we make a daily newspaper. So Manon, the hotel manager, she makes every night the newspaper for the next morning. So then the guests can wake up and read what the plan is. During my round, the deck team often has the water toys and the 9-meter inflatable slide set up. And then while the guests finish their breakfast, I normally check all the reservations for the day, if they have any bookings or cars are organized, all these things. And then most of the times it's full on water sports, shore activities, beach setups, those kind of things. I'm busy with those. And then during the shore reservations, it's always myself or the hotel manager that goes there to check if everything is organized and make sure that we are there before the guests arrive so that we can welcome them. And once the sun is down, I normally sit down with the main charter and the hotel manager to discuss the plans for the next day and confirm the departure for the night, because we most of the time sail during night to the next destination. So they wake up with a new view. That's more or less how my day looks like. But my day is often so different because my responsibility, and you're not just responsible for the ship's safety, but also make sure the crew welfare is good and that the crew is feeling happy and that the guests have all the needs they need.
Yeah, absolutely. And just actually, a question has popped into my head. It's not on the submitted questions, but what do you like to do during your downtime, your very kind of rare downtime that you get during a charter? What do you like to do?
I don't think I have any downtime during the charter.
I thought you might say that, yeah.
I think during charter, I think I struggle already to keep being compliant with my MLC resting hours. I think that's the biggest challenge for me.
Really?
But yeah, like sometimes, I do have downtime, that I go with guests, if there's a hike, then I join them. Of course I'm working, but do I really count it as work?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like really enjoyable to spend time with the guests, because normally we have very nice family people it's actually very nice to be around them. They have often, those people are very, very smart. They have great business minds. And it's really nice to discuss with them and talk with them. Like I did my master in business administration. So with this whole business mindset, it's really funny to listen to them and to hear their stories. They often tell about how their life went, and it's really interesting. So those kind of things I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I always try to do to spend some time with the guests.
I bet you meet some, like you say, I bet you meet some amazing people who you can just kind of instantly connect with and, talk about the business side of things, the yachting side of things. Yeah, I can imagine you have some great conversations. So the last question is, what advice would you give to someone looking to charter a super yacht for the first time?
So my first advice would be to find the broker that fits with you. So find a broker that really listened to you and really got all the time for you. And then to start early about your preferences and which places you like to visit, and try to find a boat that match as many points as you like, to your list. Like we have charters that are booked like 2 days in advance,
Yeah,
which is
really.
possible, but it makes it quite challengeable.
Yeah.
And it basically starts our game already with a 2-0 behind kind of thing. So we need to really catch up quickly. And like we are, I think, a well organized team as crew, and we can make that happen. But the more information the guests give us in advance, the better it can be prepared. And there are specific questions and expectations. Some of our guests already start like 1 year ahead with planning. And that's really great, because then you have all the time to make the proper restaurant bookings, book any DJs or artists if they want, or if they have any specific wishes, you can make that happen. If they need a special hairdresser or anything.
Yeah.
So I would say don't rush into it. Like, really take your time to organize it. Don't give your PA the message, just book this boat for me and we go, and just tell me what I like. You take your time yourself to really write down your preferences and what you like.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. Like you say, yeah, don't just sort of say to your PA, look, chart me a boat and let me know where I've got to be and when. Really get involved with the process
Yeah.
to make it such a memorable experience. I think that's really good advice. And one thing that I thought I'd mention to you, actually, it's not a question that's been submitted by one of my followers, but I often get asked from people, especially people actually who are leaving the armed forces and want to get into yachting. What would you recommend? So if somebody's listening to this and they want to get into yachting and they one day want to be like you, they want to be a captain, what advice would you give to them?
Just start on the bottom. Basically, work yourself up. Like, find a boat that supports your program. Like, supports you in growing your dream. So be clear during an interview if you want to become a deckhand or a stewardess, or we had stewardesses who became captain, and we had deckhands who became steward.
Yeah, interesting.
It's all possible. We have our chief officer. She started with us as a nanny about I think 15 years ago, and then she became a deckhand, and from a deckhand she became the first female bosun we had. And then from a bosun we pushed her that she should go to school and do her university and her maritime schooling, and now she's back as chief officer.
Wow.
So I would definitely advise people to really start from the bottom and really learn, and really don't try to do maritime school and just come in as a chief officer, because you have no clue what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Working your way up, I think the hands-on experience that you get, I think, is just invaluable, especially knowing what it's like to be a part of the team at all levels. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Really good advice.
Like, I was lucky enough that I could spend because my father, I could spend a few weeks as deckhand during my summer holidays. But after that, I could also spend, like, I did 2 charters in service. I did 2 charters in the galley as a galley hand. And I spent 2 charters as a housekeeper, which was the most horrible time I did, I think. I clearly know that I'm not made for housekeeping. I'm not made for that. And it cost me a lot of effort, which
I can imagine.
I managed the charter, and I was okay, and I learned a lot. But I also learned that I definitely don't want to do that. And I worked in engine room. I'm dual licensed as an engineer as well. So I really worked on any position on board Sherakhan, which gives me, as a captain, so much more overview and understanding of what people are struggling with.
Yeah. I think that insight, really gives you a multi kind of faceted approach. I think, in terms of, when you've got crew, if they come to you and they've got issues or they've got a problem with a certain part of the vessel, that hands-on experience, I think, is just priceless. But but look,
And,
no, I was going to say, I was looking at, it's been an hour already. Where did that time go? 55 minutes already. That's unbelievable. But
time flies.
But look, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join me from aboard Sherakhan. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and once again, thank you for having me, my wife, and my children on board. We absolutely loved it. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you again and staying up to date with your journey. So, Kevin,
Yeah,
thank you very much for your time.
I will definitely. And yeah, like we go to Antarctica this winter, so maybe we can do like a podcast from Antarctica or something like that.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. That would be. I might have to try and convince my wife to let me maybe come on board for a day and do it in person.
That's even better.
Yeah, that'd be a conversation, I think. But no, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And once again, thank you very much for your time.
Same. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kevin. Speak soon.
If you'd like to charter Sherakhan or any other boats, then make sure you get in contact with me. You will find my contact details in the podcast description, or you can email me via john@yacht-boy.com. Remember to also follow me on Instagram, and if you are the captain or owner of an Explorer yacht and you would like to appear on my podcast, then feel free to reach out to me. Please don't forget to give this podcast a review if you're listening on Spotify. And don't forget to give it a like if you're listening on YouTube. Until next time, fair winds and following seas.